Stace, you are standing the right group. I was in Korea to accompany my niece to watch Stray Kids concert. I came in with almost zero knowledge about the band. I've only heard God's Menu prior to watching the entire concert. And when I came in, oh my God. So one, the energy of this group, it shows that it just shows their youth. No, it really shows, I think, how number one, dedicated they are in their craft, how much they love Stace and how much they respect their craft. The energy is off the roof. I was the I so there's this blonde guy. There were two guys. At some point, I wanted to jump on stage and stop them from dancing because I was so scared that their limbs are just gonna fly off. They were dancing so hard. I was like, you're gonna send your limbs flying out of this arena. But that's how much energy they were putting in their dance. I was actually nervous they're going to lose their limbs. But kidding aside, it actually made me feel good to see them dancing that hard because I feel like, oh, okay, you're actually dedicated in this craft. That you're actually putting your energy in here. You didn't come here with just your good looks and good voice. You actually came here with an intent to actually put on a good performance, which is what you're supposed to do in a concert, right? Especially for I came in with not a fan yet, and to me, I felt like this is my hard-earned cash. Entertain me, and I was entertained. So yeah, that I think the energy is just off the roof. I can't say enough about how energetic this group is. You can say a lot of things about them. You can never accuse them of not having enough energy in that stage. Next is that their music is prolific. When I heard God's Menu, I think one of the things that I said was that good luck trying to surpass this because this is one of the best songs I've ever listened to across all genres, across all countries. It just this song is a different level. It's just different. It's unique. It's great. So I thought like you reached your peak very early in your career, and then I came in there. I was like, oh, you managed to actually create even better songs. It's a prolific discography, which just shows, as far as I understand. Later on, I was told and was educated by my niece that they actually write and produce their own songs. So it just goes to show just how much potential that they have. If they are able to break free from God's Menu and create even more beautiful tracks, beautiful songs. I am excited for what they can do in the future. That's growth, that's maturity for an artist. So I didn't sit there and listen to and felt like I was listening to the same songs for 3 hours, and they did perform for 3 hours. It was actually prolific discography. Good also, not just prolific, but actually good, great actually. Number three, I appreciated that they were singing live. Their vocals are far from perfect. Perfect would be the CD version of it, but they were good enough. And I've always said this. I much prefer hear you panting on your microphone. I would much prefer hear shaking, instability, but be assured that you're singing live rather than hear your backing tracks. Because if I want to hear the perfection of your song, then I would just listen to the CD version of your song, right? So, but they were singing live. But still, it's an incredible amount of control over their voices. I think K-pop likes calling it stable. So incredible amount of stability, but that is actually control. They have such great control over their voices. So I am not perfect, but great enough. Okay. Next is that they were the ones that performed and not dancers, not pyrotechnics, not special effects. I was actually seeing them because there are a lot of, and you know this, if you've seen a lot of concerts, there are a lot of concerts that will dazzle you with backup dancers and great special effects and whatever. They would be flying in the air and whatever. but the truth is that real art isn't performed by lights or by by special effects. It's performed by artists, and that's what I saw. It was them. They were the ones that were putting on a show, and not their special effects team. Appreciate that. Next is it was uh, the strongest element of that concert is their connection with their audience. And it's not just the fans, because I'm not a fan, right? I came in there not being a fan, and they still connected with me. And I think it has something to do with the fact that they knew the kind of artist they wanted to become, and that's how they presented themselves. They weren't there for the sheer interest of hearing the screams and becoming popular and becoming stars. They were there because they wanted to present their music, and that's what they did. So there's a certain level of not intimate, like a certain level of respect. They elevated. Oh, there you go. They were able to elevate their reputation, their artistry, their reputation as artists as well. Next is there's a certain level of intensity when the artist presenting the art is also the one that created the art, right? So I know there's a lot of K-pop fans out there that will say that just because they're not writing their own music doesn't mean they're not artists. They are, but there's a certain level of intensity, unmatched intensity and purity and sincerity when the artist that's performing and presenting the art are also the ones that created it. And that's what I felt with this, because they wrote their own songs. They knew the right kind of emotions to deliver in their performances. And it just made me, while I was watching them perform, feeling the emotions that they were communicating, I felt like this voice should be bigger by now. If it wasn't, I understand there was the pandemic, and I don't know how JYP is managing them, but that level of sincerity and that quality of music, you should be bigger by now. Okay, next is I like Han's rapping. I There's a certain it's very Asian. He has an Asian flavor, which I really like and appreciated because we're Asian. So if I wanted to hear Western rapping, then I would just listen to Western rappers. So I appreciate his tonality. He has a very different flow and a very different rhythm in his rap. And also he's very prolific. Like his rap in one song would be different from his rap in the next song. There's almost no two songs that he rapped the same way in, if that makes sense. I think there's only like 2 to 3 rappers in my head, Korean rappers like that in my head. I will not say who those are. I'm not gonna start a fan war, but Han is one of them. Okay. Next is that Felix's voice is a national treasure. Jesus Christ, where did he get that? He's not a huge person, but when he sounds like holy macaroni, that draws you in. That's a very, very, very powerful voice, and they should be able to utilize that. That guy is headed somewhere big. If he can just, I feel like he hasn't found his footing yet, like his own. That's his voice, but like the place of that voice in the music industry. But I think if he continues experimenting, he'll find that. That's an asset. I'm sure a lot of states already know that, but that's really, really unique. Ninth, I don't know who their leader was when I came. I knew the name, but maybe in the 3rd or 4th song, I kind of figured out that that's Banchan. There's an air of leadership in him, humble leadership actually. But I was able to guess that was him, which demonstrates just how like firmly he has been able to place himself as the leader of this group, and the confidence that he exudes when he's on the stage. For me to be able to guess it, my niece was actually seated closer to the stage, and I was farther to the stage because she probably didn't want to sit with me. So I was actually seated among other people, and I was sandwiched between two diehard stays, and they were sort of educating me about Stray Kids. So those two seatmates, thank you very much. And the 10th is here. I think in general, I came in knowing nothing about this band, and I came out a fan. And all because I felt respected as an audience. I felt like they didn't count on just the devotion of their fans. They didn't say, no matter what I do in this stage, they're gonna love me. They're going to make excuses for my shortcomings or whatever. I'm not that they love me anyway, so I'm just gonna show up and they'll still be happy. I did not feel that. I felt like they came in with knowing that they need to put in a show, and that's what they're there, and that's what they did. So I felt respected as an audience. They didn't treat me like an ordinary fangirl. I was an audience with a critical eye, and they made sure that they will fulfill my expectations. So I feel respected as an audience. If there's anything to improve, maybe two things. One is the synchronicity, which is very hard because it's a concert. If you're performing for 3 hours, it's just the sheer energy that it takes out of you. But there were some songs where they were out of sync, but that's easy to resolve. And then the other thing, which I think they will be able to improve in the future, if they have enough just experience in putting together a concert. As far as I understand, they're in control of almost every aspect of their creative, so I would assume that the concert itself was very much their idea. I think just given enough more experience in doing concerts, they'll be able to put in together a narrative in the show. So I think they'll be able to put in a story in the show. But that comes with experience. You can't expect that from a first time. I know this is not their first time, but they're relatively new in doing shows because of the pandemic. They got caught in the pandemic. So yeah, I'm very happy with the concert, and I am looking forward to more of their music and more of their concerts.